ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। Just chant to whatever we did. Om. Okay. शन्नो मित्रश्यं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। शीक्षां व्याख्यास्यामः वर्णस्वरः मात्राबलं सामसन्तानः इत्युक्तः शीक्षाध्यायः सहनौ यशः सहनौ ब्रह्मवर्चसम् अतातः सगम्भिताय उपनिषदं व्याख्यास्यामः पञ्चस्वधिकरणेषु अधिलोकमधिज्योतिषमधिविद्यमधिप्रजमध्यात्मम् तामहासगम्हिता इत्याचक्षते अथाधिलोकम् पृथिवी पूर्वरूपम् द्यौरुत्तररूपम् आकाशः सन्धिः वायुः सन्धानम् इत्यधिलोकम् अथादिज्योतिषम् अग्निः पूर्वरूपम् आदित्य उत्तररूपम् आपः सन्धिः वैद्युतः सन्धानम् इत्यदिज्योतिषम् अथादिविद्यम् आचार्यः पूर्वरूपम् अन्तेवास्युत्तररूपम् विद्यासन्धिः प्रवचनगुं सन्धानम् इत्यदिविद्यम् अथाधिप्रजम् माता पूर्वरूपम् पितोत्तररूपम् प्रजासन्धिः प्रजननगुं सन्धानम् इत्यधिप्रजम् अथाध्यात्मम् अदराहनुः पूर्वरूपम् उत्तरानुरुत्तररूपम् वाक्सन्धिः जिह्वासन्धानम् इत्यध्यात्मम् इति मामहासगम्भिताः य एवमेता महासगम्हिता व्याख्याता वेद सन्धीयते प्रजया पशुभिः ब्रह्मवर्चसेनान्नाद्येन सुवर्गेण लोकेन. So this is next Anuvaka is fourth. Third Anuvaka is complete. Third means first Anuvaka being the Shanti part. Second Anuvaka is just the Shiksha. That's why there are sections, you remember? See? Shiksha Shastrartha Sangraha. That is one Anuvaka section. Samhitopasanam, third section. Anuvaka. Next one is Medhadisiddhyartha Avahanti Homa Mantraha. First, that Medhadisiddhyartha, yes, Chandasa we already learned, right?
Yeah.
Medha Suktam also it comes, yeah. Yes. Here it also it comes. Up to Shrutam Me Gopaya. As a Shanti mantra, Medha Suktam we learned, right? Shanti, you do the last one. Atadya.
Athatyatmam adharahanah purvarupam uttarahanuruttararupam vaksandhihi jihvasandhanam ityadhyatmam iti mamaha sagamhitaha ya eva meta
Ya eva, ya koncham.
ya eva meta
No swara, eva meta, no swara there, right?
Right. Ya eva meta mahasagam hita vyakhyata veda
Sandhiyate prajaya pashubhihi.
Sandhiyate prajaya pashubhihi. Sandhiyate prajaya pashubhihi. Brahmavarchasenanadyena suvargyena lokena.
And then అది ఇతి మామహ సగం అని గట్టి అని అంత పట్టుకోకండి లూజ్ ఫ్రీగా
నేర్చుకునే టైంలో ప్రాక్టీస్ వన్స్ యు గెట్ ఇన్ ద ఫ్లో
పట్టుకునే వాళ్ళు వదిలేరు పట్టుకోవాలి.
ఆచార్య పూర్వరూపం అంతేవాస్యుత్తర రూపం విద్యాసంధి ప్రవచనగం సంధానం ఇత్యది విద్యం. ఇది దిస్ ఇస్ అధి విద్య ఉపాసన, సంహితోపాసన. దట్ ఈస్ ది బ్రహ్మచర్యాశ్రమ. నెక్స్ట్ వన్ ఈస్ what ashrama? Grihasthashrama. Right. Ashrama is not relaxing. Asamantat shrama, that is also an effort to reach the highest. This is also putting effort. The Grihastha ashrama, that's what it's called. Ashrama. So atha, now adiprajam, concerning prajani or birth. Mata, mother. Purva rupam, the prior form. Pita, father. Uttara rupam, the posterior form. Praja, progeny. Sandhihi, the intermediate form. That is a junction. Prajananam, procreation. Sandhanam, the connection, the means of joining. Iti, thus, adi prajam. Upon progeny, dhayet, one should meditate. So now concerning progeny, mother is the prior form, father is the posterior form, progeny is the junction, and procreation is the connection. Thus one should meditate upon progeny. So in the days of yore, especially in the Vaidika period, the Upanishad had been freely taught to the deserving, but that did not mean that the study of the scriptures compelled or insisted or even prepared the ground for an immediate retirement from life into the jungles. Generation was taught these glorious secrets of life and trained in the art of living in complete unison with life and its circumstances before the members were sent to face the onslaughts of its day-to-day challenges. Therefore, instructions regarding the most vital urges in man, such as sex, were freely given out and under healthy social conditions. This cannot bring about any deterioration in the moral life of the people. It was only after Shankaracharya's time that the tradition of young men taking to sannyasa with a desire to learn the higher life and live the life divine had come into vogue, since chances in society to learn the Upanishads had become almost little. Continue.
But the Upanishad studies have come to be recognized today as a special privilege of only sannyasins, and corollary to the wrong impression is the superstitious belief which frightens away the dull-witted that the studies of the Upanishads will make a healthy man uninterested in life and ultimately will abduct him away from the fields of activity to the dark caves of an important retirement. In the golden age of the Vedic culture, the intelligent Hindus understood the values of the literature, and the general curriculum in education included the study of this Shruti. Under such a scheme of things, this meditation or upasana advice, when viewed against the background of the age, need not give us the sense of outrageousness that we apt to feel at the first instance during a hasty reading. Again, unlike the suicidal belief in the Christian creed, we do not consider sex relationship as the first sin by which the God-man had come to fall to become the stupid, the deluded, the egocentric entity, rotting away in his own sorrows and sins. On the other hand, we believe that the relationship of man and woman is divine when rightly understood and wisely pursued. Progressive in thought, daring in planning the social welfare, the scientists of life who gave us the immortal Sanatana Dharma through our scriptures were not shy, sentimental, effeminate fools to fight shy of the great principles of life simply because of an idle misapprehension.
The unhealthy misunderstanding regarding the relationship of man and woman in life, I dare say, is the cause of almost all the terrible problems in the world today. Unhealthy intermingling, unintelligent compromises, misunderstood liberties, and uncontrolled
licentiousness
have poisoned the lives of both the married and the unmarried, so that each new generation now finds itself the unclaimed child of its own past, not as an idol of the love lived, but as a
caricature
of the lust expressed. The dreadful state of an orphan generation, untended and uncultivated, wrecking the entire destiny of the world, had been clearly visualized by the pure intellectuals of the Vedic period, and therefore they thought it fit to give to their children during their growing age of curiosity and meaningless excitements the correct scientific knowledge of true living in controlled indulgence. In the most sacred of their scriptures, they incorporated chapters of sexology. On the walls of Sanctum Sanctorum in the temple, they sculptured the act of procreation. In the sacred books of their mythological stories, they painted naked and gorgeous truths of balanced living in ration revelry. In their literature, they drenched their themes with pictures of beauty and showed the healthy way of enjoyment.
With this much of understanding of the views of the saints of that era, we can easily appreciate how the young brahmacharis who had come to the teacher to learn the truth of the absolute were made to meditate upon this line of thinking, and yet they were saved from all unhealthy mental depravity. We had to go into this much in detail because of the condemning and commentaries that are being made most shamelessly, both the foreigners and the Indian converts, upon these glorious passages of such pregnant universal
suggestions.
suggestions.
So the Gurudev have to go into the details because they may misunderstand, right? Because of the upasana given on that kind of a samhito, using those as alambanams. Continue. Atha. Now, last one is on Adhyatma, on the body parts.
What follows is concerning the individual or the body.
Atha. Now, Adhyatmam.
Atha, now, Adhyatmam, concerning
The individual.
the individual or the body.
Adarahanu.
Adarahanu, the lower jaw.
Purvarupam.
Purvarupam, the
Prior form.
prior form. Uttarahanu, the upper jaw. Uttararupam, the posterior form.
Walk.
Walk, speech. Sandhihi, the intermediate form. Jihva, tongue. Sandhanam, the connection means of union. Iti, thus,
Adhyatma.
Adhyatmam, upon the individual.
Dhyayet.
Dhyaye. One should meditate.
Dhyayet is supplied. This in brackets.
Implies.
Mm.
What follows is concerning the individual or the body. The lower jaw is the prior form, the upper jaw, the posterior form, speech, the conjunction, the tongue, the means of union. Thus, one should meditate upon oneself.
Good.
Those who have followed so far the technique of superimposing a line of independent thinking upon the construction of a compound word must find it easy to understand this idea. To the student, this must be certainly a very easy thought to engage his mind upon, since he is all the time talking during his study hour or when he is in the field. The student is therefore made to maintain in his mind an undercurrent of meditative thoughts upon the significance of his own act of articulation. Without the upper and the lower jaws and the vocal cords, no sound can be produced. Even when the sound is created, without the tongue coming into vigilant play in controlling and regulating the sounds, the various letters constituting the language, such as guttural, palatal, dental, or labial cannot be correctly or satisfactorily produced. With this much of understanding, it must be easy for any student to pursue this upasana.
So we can pursue that. Upper jaw, lower jaw. And what is the speech is the sandhi, the junction. And what is the connect sandhanam? Tongue. Connection.
So while chanting also you can do it.
Yes. The tongue connects.
Focus.
Hmm.
So you can focus.
Yes. And for that there is a result next. What is the result? So guttural, palatal, dental, labial, what are they? You remember? What are they? Sthanam. Sthana. Guttural means? Varna. Varnotpat. Varnotpat. Not only swara, even Vyanjana, of course. So guttural, palatal. Not jazz here. This
Sounds coming like
the throat. Kanta. Kanta. Talavya, palatal. Talu. Dental. Dantya. Dantya. Of course, there's a murdanya, such as and better. Murdanya is not here. Murdha. Cerebral, they call it. Murdha. That Shanmukha Sha. Ana. Ana. And then, of course, labial Oshta.
Labial is intent.
Oshta, lips.
Lips.
You remember those Sutra, Shiksha Sutra? Akuha. Fill in the blank. Akuha. Akuha Visarjaniyana Kantaha. Right? You know, I sent you that
Yes.
in the group. Akuha Visarjaniyanam Kantaha. A. Who means? Kavarga. Kakaganga. Who means Kavarga? Kakaganga. Kavarga is, and then Aku ha also, and Visarjaniya. Visarjaniya means, of course. What is Visarjaniya? I mean, you know. Yeah. Those two.
Visarga.
Yeah, Visarga. Visarga is also called Visarjaniya. Right? That is the rule. Because most of the time, when you do the Sandhi, we don't pronounce the Visarga, right? It connects with the next word, and then we do Visarjana. Visarjana. Only certain cases, only when Ksha comes, and there's one more rule also. We do completely pronounce that Visarga. Then that is the meditation on the Adhyatma iti Adhyatma. Then continue. Iti imam.
Iti, thus, ima, these, Mahasabhitaha, the great blendings, Yaha, he who, evam, thus, etaha, these, Mahasabhitaha, the great blendings, Vyakhyayataha, expounded, Veda, understands, Sandhiyate is united, Prajaya with progeny, Pashubhihi with Kyati, Brahmavarchasena with the glory of the holy luster, Annadhyena with food and the like, Suvargena Lokena with joys of heavenly world.
Suvargya means Swarga. Another Swarga is called Suvargya here.
These are called the great blendings. He who understands them as expounded here becomes united with progeny, Kyati, food, and the like, and with the glory of the holy luster, wealth, and heavenly joys.
Krishna.
Traditionally, a prescription for a karma or an upasana must have 4 limbs. A description of the presiding deity, which indicates to us the nature of the karma, Utpatti Vidhi. A detailed instruction on all the acts that we have to do in the ritual, Viniyoga Vidhi. An exhaustive enumeration of the qualities necessary in making one fit to pursue the indicator ritualism, Adhikara Vidhi, and the promise of the results that will be accrued when the ritualism is, with faith and devotion, diligently pursued. Phala Vidhi.
So those are all vidhis. Utpatti, Viniyoga, Adhikara, Phala. Because all have to be there when a ritual is prescribed. They all should be presented. That's what it's saying. Prakash, you got it.
We now find that almost all these items are given here in this upasana upon the limbs of compound words. Here in this portion now under discussion, we read a complete description of the fruits that are gained by such a pursuit. All karmas, sacred and secular, produce in their reaction some fruit or the other. In ritualism, when the divine acts are pursued with an intention to gain the fruits thereof, the individual, in proportion to his diligence and acquired mental strength, comes to enjoy the fruits. But the same ritualisms, when pursued without a demand for the fruits thereof, result in an efficient integration of the upasaka's inner personality.
With that, Pravina will conclude it, but she just had to go. I'll conclude. Here, this Upanishad is an advice by the rishis to their students, many of whom are yet to go back to a householder's life and live in society. Therefore, to show them the material gains that they can come to enjoy through a diligent pursuit of upasana is certainly quite encouraging. They will be tempted to continue these exercises and thus slowly grow to a greater stature in their inner constitution of mind and intellect. So, even though these the phalam has been given as though it is a sakama just for material benefit, but ultimately it is for only to gain chitta shuddhi and then get prepared for the jnana yoga, jnana yogyata, right, is what we need to pursue Vedanta. So these great blendings, Mahasamhita, have been expounded, and whoever understands this Sandhiyate is united with Prajaya, all Prajani, Pashubhihi, with cattle wealth. Cattle wealth includes everything, all wealth here. At that time, cattle, right? Brahma Varchas, the luster, holy luster. Annadhyana. Anna and Adi, Adhyana. Food and the like. Adanayogyam. Agreeable food, you can say that. Suvarga, the Svargaloka also has been promised if you do these upasanas. So 5 upasanas make us. If you want Nishkama Phalam, what do we get? Chitta Shuddhi, Guru Prapti, right? And of course, Shravana Manana, Nididhyasanam. And of course, not Swargaloka, but what? Moksha. Moksha itself. Okay. Later, of course, Paramparaya, not with this. Does the karma doesn't give. Upasana is also karma, right? What karma it is? Manasa karma, right? Upasana would is a manasa karma, just like we do Kayika Vachika. So manasa karma. Karma doesn't take you. Right? Take you means somewhere. Of course, there's no going anywhere. It's only through jnanam. Yeah, you need jnanam, right?
That's what it says.
What does it say? It is taking to Swarga.
And then it will
Yeah. Paramparaya. It will give you chitta shuddhi. Paramparaya means, not directly. That's why Karma Yoga is a preparation to get Jnana Yogyata Prapti.
That's why maybe only the material benefits are mentioned here. Since it's a karma.
Yes.
No, it's here. It said.
That's what Gurudev is adding that.
If you do it nishkama, then
Yes.
integration will happen. Sakama means again it just becomes.
Yes. Because Veda tries to promise it so that to attract more and more. Like in the market, in the mall, they attract. So this is initially attracts. And then later, of course, once you've prepared, it takes you to the next level Vedanta. Veda Purva. That's why in the next section also, there is a japa and also there is a homa. for Srikamasya, for all types of wealth. Even the Guru means not a sannyasi Guru, the Grihastha Guru, or it could be. He does this homa even to attract a lot of brahmacharis so that he can spread the message of Brahma Vidya. It is also Nishkama only. But he asks all types of wealth he wants. We'll see in the next homa. First one, of course, Yaschandasam Rishabha Vishwarupa is for japa. For japa. That is Medakama. Medakamasya, intelligence. And then next homa is Srikamasya, for the one who wants prosperity. Of course, not for selfish purposes, to spread the message of the great glory of the Sanatana Dharma, let's say. He wants all kinds of good brahmacharis. He'll say Vimayantu, Pramayantu, Dhamayantu. You'll see that. Huh? We'll do the next one then. This we have done. Some of us have already learned. Right? You know Amma? Anybody know someone? Sharda Priyanandaji.
Yeah. Heard about it.
She only signed it in 90.
Andhra Pradesh.
Yes.
is very famous. And she was.
Ellayapalli.
No.
Chinmayaranyam. No, she took some Chinmayaranyam.
Yeah.
I opened it, came later.
Mhm.
So, we had a camp in 90. Then that time they taught us this Shikshavalli as chicks when we went. Okay. Questions? All good? So, Medhadi Siddhyartha Avahanti Homa Mantraha. The first one is for japa. Okay? Because we do, that is the japa on the Om, Omkar. Omkara Rupa Parameshwara. We are invoking up to Shrutam Me Gopaya. This was Medakama. Medakamasya. Okay. Yaschandasam Rushabho Vishwarupaha. Yaschandasam Rushabho Vishwarupaha. Chandobhyodhyamritaat sambhabhuva. I'll split it. Chandobhyodhyamritaat sambhabhuva. Sambhabhuva. Chandobhyodhyamritaat sambhabhuva. Samendro medhaya asprunoti. Samendro medhaya Samendro medhaya asprunoti. अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासम् अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासम् शरीरं मे विचर्षणम् instead of vicharshanam, that's as though you're splitting that repa completely. Shariram me vicharshanam. Jihva me madhumattama. Karnaabhyam Bhuri Vishruvam Karnaabhyam Bhuri Vishruvam Brahmana Koshosi Medhaya Pihitaha Brahmana Koshosi Medhaya Pihitaha Shrutam me Gopaya Yaschandasa Mrishabho Vishwarupaha Chandobhyodhyamritaat sambhabhuva Samendro medhaya asprunotu Amrutasya devadharano bhuyasam Shariram me vicharshanam Jihva me madhumattama Karnaabhyam Bhuri Vishruvam Brahmana घोषोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय to actual Avahanti Vitanvana is that one is there, but that will the continuation for the next set, the mantras. There ends the japa of the Omkara Upasana. This is for japa for what? Meda Shakti. Meda means? Right. Otherwise called as Grahana Dharana Shakti. Retention, Grahanam, reception, and of course you have to Dharana, retention also. Once the Vandanaji, only one you should try. Otherwise, all of us know, right? Try it. Yaschandasam Rishabho Vishwarupaha
Yaschandasam Vishwarupaha
Chandobhyodhyamritaat
Chandobhyodhyamritaat
Sambhabhuva
Chandobhyodhyamritaat Sambhabhuva
Chandobhyodhyamritaat Sambhabhuva
Chandobhyodhyamritaat Sambhabhuva Chandobhyodhyamritaat Sambhabhuva.
Again.
Chandobhyodhyamritaat Sambhabhuva.
Amritaat. Dhyamrita. Just say Dhyamritaat.
Dhyamritaat Sambhabhuva. Samendro
Medhaya.
Samendro Medhaya
Sprunotu.
Samendro Medhaya
Sprunotu.
Amrutasya devadharano vyasam.
Bhuyasam. No swara there.
Amrutasya devadharano bhuyasam. Shariram me
Vicharshanam. Shariram me
vicharshanam. Shariram me vicharshanam. Jivha me madhumattama. Jivha me madhumattama.
Karnabhyam.
Bhuri Vishruvam. Brahmanaha, Brahmanaha,
Brahmana, Brahmana, Koshosi.
Brahmana, Koshosi, Medhaya, Pihitaha. Shrutam me
Shrutam me Gopaya.
Shrutam me Gopaya. Shrutam me Gopaya.
So, Jihva me Madhumattama. What does it mean?
Honey on the
Honey on the tongue. Sweet. Sweet sounding. In Rudram also it comes here. Not in Rudram. What is the Shanti part of Rudram?
Chamakam.
Chamaka. Of course, Rudram means Namaka, Namakam, Chamaka. Okay. What is the Shanti part? What will it- Madhu- ha. So, Uktavacha Prithvimatarmamahigam Madhumanishye Madhujanishye Madhubhakshami Madhuvadishyami Madhuvadishyami Madhumatin Devebhyo Vacham. So, there also it comes. So, that speech is given importance. The quality of speech. So, we are praying for, of course, we'll see the meaning. Will we read? So, this is Omkara Rupa Parameshwara. So, first we praise, we pray, and then ask toward the end what we want, right? In Rudram we chant, and then we ask what we wanted in Namakam, in Chamakam. Yeah. Okay. Just read the meaning, somebody.
Yaha, he who Chandasam among the sacred hymns of the Vedas, Rishabhaha preeminent, Vishwarupaha manifold, Chandobhyaha from the sacred hymns of the Vedas, Adhi abhav, Amritat from the immortal, Sambhabhuva sprang up, Saha that, Ma to me, Indraha Indra, Medhaya with intellectual vigor, Prunotu may fill, invigorate, Amritasya of immortality. Deva, O Lord, Dharanaha, possessor,
Bhuyasam.
Bhuyasam, may I become Shariram, body. May my Vicharshanam, able and active, Jivha, tongue. May my Madhumattama, sweet and agreeable to the utmost. Bhuyat, may become. Karnabhyam, with the ears. Bhuri, abundantly. Vishruvam, may I listen. Brahmanaha, of Brahman. Koshaha, sheath. Asi, thou art. Medhaya, by the intellect. Pihitaha, covered. Shrutam, learning. May mine. Gopaya, may you preserve.
Gopaya. May you protect
He
what I have.
whose form is manifold, who is preeminent among the sacred hymns of the Vedas, and who has sprung up from the sacred hymns which are immortal, that Indra, Omkara, may fill me with intellectual vigor. O Lord, may I become the possessor of the immortal revelation. May my body become able and active, my speech sweet and agreeable to the utmost. May I listen abundantly with my ears. Thou art the sheath of Brahman. May you preserve my learning.
That's the meaning. So Indra here means that Omka, Parameshwara, not the Pauranika Indra, right?
I think they
Indra.
took the names for Pauranika from here only, maybe.
Yeah.
Because they weren't there when this time.
That Indra has a different meaning altogether. And the Indira is the Strilinga of it. Strilingam is Indira,
Indira is three.
Lakshmi Devi only, right?
Indrani.
Rule, that rules, one who rules by Indra, by wealth. Indati, master of everything. It is Indra. Who will be there? So what are we doing? What are we doing? Japa of Omkara, right?
Indrayati iti Indra.
So Om has sprung from, as though it is there, of course, not that it has sprung up from the sacred hymns, of course, of the Vedas, which are immortal.
But this sounds like an invocation again, right? Like invocations are done in the beginning. Then.
Yeah, that's why there is Meda Kama. For intelligence, we are
invocation.
This is for Japa. So we are asked to do daily repetition. It's already sprung up means it is already in the Vedas, but it has kind of manifested, you can say. You see, right? It is the essence of whole creation, Omkara. Brahmaji wanted to find the essence of the creation. He tapas. Alochan. Tapa means alochan. Tape. Alochane. And then the essence of creation. You got, what is it called? Three Bhusvasva, the lokas. He visualized. Then what are they? Vyahritis. Then again, the more he visualized, he got the Vyahritis, Bhusvasva Vyahriti, they call it. Right? As in Gayatri, Bhusvasva Vyahriti. 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 Bhusvasva. That Vyahriti Upasana also will come later. There's three Vyavritis, and of course, there's a Maha also is there. It is added.
What is the meaning of Vyahriti?
That which was uttered by Brahmaji, Vyahriti, in the beginning. That's why it's called Vyahriti. Other meaning could be that which removes a papam. Vyahr, so that meaning also is there. So Vyahriti, Purvasvaha. And then from that Omkara, Uma, okay. And final essence, basically. Right? Of course, in some other places, there is for each Akara, Ukara, Makara has its own. Three Vedas represent the three matras, right? Akara. Rig, Yajus, Sama. Akara, Ukara, Makara, Rig, Yajus, Sama. Of course, these three Devatas also are there. Agni, Vayu, Aditya. So this is, in some places it is there, like, right? So they are called Rishis also, some places. Because Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara is Devas, then they are called Rishis. Agni, Vayu, Aditya. So this is essence, basically. That's why even the Gayatri mantra is the essence, Om itself. So if you take out the Vyavahritis, what is the mantra? Renyam is Akara. Yeah. Devasthidima is Ukara. Yona Prajodaya is Makara. So each Veda, from each Veda, one line. And again, further essence is Akara, Ukara, Makara. So if you don't remember all the, even the Veda name, just say Om. It's like equal to saying, chanting all the Veda. Right? So simple trick, meditation on Om. Right? So Om, what is Om? Om is this sound, right? It's not, how does it, that Om we write is not really is not a representation of Om actually. Okay, they gave something to for us to, because they took a part of right? In Om, part of part of U, and then they put a Chandra Bindu. Somebody did that. Maybe some British. That's why Gurudev gives his own right. Some and some give in some people will go a little further and say it has 3 curves, right? Oh, one curve is Jagrata Avastha, the second curve Swapna Avastha, and then the third curve is Sushupti, and the dot above, the final curve on the above is the Turiya. Some interpretation they give. Okay. But then, because Om is what? A and U. It's a combination. Diphthong we call it. Right? What is a diphthong? Monothongs are A, I, U, R, L. Monothong. Diphthong is combination of vowel. It's called Samyukta Vyanjana, just like Samyukta, not Vyanjana, sorry, Samyukta Swara. Just like Samyukta Vyanjana, we have Samyukta Swara. A, I, O, O. These 4 are a combination of 2 vowels, right?
Yeah.
So A plus U is O. And then you add the Chandra. You got Om. It's a sound symbol. It's not really a figure that we later it came in.
It's not part of an alphabet.
No, it's a sound only. That's why it's called Pratika. Pratika Alambar. It's not a Pratima. We made a Pratima, of course, by giving that shape. Okay. So read. But Om has that importance. All the Upanishads, many of the Upanishads we get, right?
This section opens with a declaration of a mantra to be used by the students for daily repetition, a practice technically called japa, to keep the mind actively engaged in the repetition of a sacred hymn, invoking divine ideas or ideals, which provides an infinite possibility for contemplation and intellectual flights is japa. Here, the japa advised is for the development of the intellect in a student. For all the serious students, there cannot be a greater ambition than that they should be able to shine in their class among others. In ancient days, the success of a student mainly depended upon his retentive capacity, since education started with memorizing the Vedika text. Without an acute memory power, Medha Shakti, no student in those days could do well in his education. Here we have, therefore, a mantra for chanting which, when pursued properly with the necessary mental cooperation, can strengthen and purify the memory power in the student.
Correct. This one. Grahana Dharana Shakti, Veda Shakti. Continue.
In this japa, the student is addressing Indra. Sri Shankaracharya in his commentary interprets rightly that Indra here means Omkara. Etymologically, the word Indra is derived from a root meaning to illuminate.
Indayati.
In
Indayati iti Indra. Indayati. It illuminate, that meaning is there. Of course, the master of everything is also there. Kind of Aishwarya, Paramaishwarya. Idh dhatu, that is Idhi dhatu. Indati also, to illuminate also is there. Yes.
Om symbol indicating the conscious principle is in man is the illuminator of all his faculties, including his own intellect. The mantra, as it reads, is an invocation to Omkara for a clearer consciousness or awareness in the student.
Yes. So that is Indra. And the next one.
He whose form is manifold.
That is Vishwarupa, is that right? In the mantra? Vishwarupa. Yes, Chandasam, Rishabho, Vishwarupa. That is manifold.
He whose form is manifold, the awareness or consciousness, which is the supreme reality, is the infinite substratum for all the finite names and forms which constitute the world as we perceive it. The waves and ripples, the bubbles and foam, the whirls and the dips that disturb the surface of the ocean are all, when analyzed, found to be nothing but the manifold forms of the same ocean. The rings, the bangles, and the innumerable varieties of ornaments, thin and thick, short and long, though different in shape, size, and name, are all the manifold forms of the one and the same substance, gold. Similarly, the one infinite divine life spark expresses itself through the endless forms and names that constitute the entire living world of beings, and therefore the truth as expressed by its symbol Om is said to have manifold forms.
Yes. Because Om is what? A. Where does A start? The sthana is Kantha. And the word ends with in between the rolling of the tongue represent U. All letters in any language basically are these only. That's why Vishwarupa. It means everything basically. That's why Vishwarupa. Yeah.
Who is preeminent among the hymns of the Vedas? Herein, that is
Preeminent means here Rishabha.
Rishabha.
Rishabha is the bull. Is always taken as the best, right? The sacred. Rishabha Iva, like though, as though, like. It stands among the cattle, right? Separate.
Herein we have yet another class clarifying the Om symbol. The infinite and the immortal truth, which is one without a second, all pervading and perfect as indicated by the symbol Om, is the one common theme that is dealt with in all the hymns in the Vedas. Even in the mantra portion of the Vedas, the exclamations of the audience at the beauty of nature were but adorations of the infinite. When the Hindus in the Brahmana portion enter into the scheme of ritualism, they invoke the same truth, manifested for special purpose as Indra, Varuna, and so on. Again in the Upanishads, where the great rishis exploded in ecstasy and expressed their thrilling experience of the end and declared the path leading towards it. They again, with every mantra, indicated the same infinite truth, which, from behind the pluralistic world, lends its vitality to nature. Therefore, the appellation given here is perfectly justified.
Appellation is the best. That Rishabha. Purusha Rishabha, we call it, right? And Gita. Purusha Rishabha. Best among Rishabha.
Who has sprung up from the hands? The intellectual recognition of the all-pervading reality is gained through a study of the Vedas. Thereafter, to a seeker, the same Veda prescribes the means by which he can pursue his pilgrimage towards the self-discovery. Again, the same Veda deals exhaustively with the methods of removing obstacles on the path of the seeker. Therefore, it is but a beautiful way of expression to declare the truth symbolized by Om as having sprung up from the hands.
Figuratively saying, not that it is newly sprung up, it's already there, manifested, kind of. So everything is Om. That's why they say in Kruta Yuga, only Om will be there, they say, right? Only Om, not even Veda, only Om. Everything is represented by Om only. That's another Uddhava Gita, it comes. That's why Kruta Krutya. Kruta Yuga means what? Kruta Krutya. They are fulfilled by nature, not many days, of course, maybe one or two. By nature fulfilled. Kruta Krutya Yuga, that's why it's called. So there only Om, meditation, in a way. That's why no Varnas also. Only one Varna, Hamsa Varna. Only Hamsa Varna. Only later, not the Varnas came, Vedas came. So they're the purest Kruta. Okay. So it has sprung up as though, in a way, from the Vedas. And this is called Chandas, right? Chandobhyo. Chandobhyo Dhyamritat Sambabhuva. Chandobhyo means what? Chandas. Here, Chandas means. So meaning of that is, of course, Prinayati, that which pleases us is Chandas. Or Rakshayati is also called Chandas. That which protects us, right? By giving us the knowledge of our own self, higher self. Protects us from samsara in a way, right? That's why it's called Chandas. Another meaning for the Chandas. So that's why it says, again, the same Veda deals exhaustively with the methods of removing obstacles on the path of the seeker. Which means in that way, protection. Continue. Because
addressing this Om, the name of the infinite, the student desires that he must be filled with intellectual vigor so that he may be able to understand, at least bring within his intellectual appreciation, the deep significances of the immortal revelations expounded in the Vaidika text. Not only is it sufficient that he is provided with a wonderful intellect capable of grasping and retaining the silent import of the pregnant Vaidika words, but also that the Aryan student is not satisfied without acquiring a healthy life in body and a sweet and agreeable way of expression in his speech. No student in the Vedika period seems to have ever misappropriated knowledge with an intention to hoard. His charity is so divine and the theme of his study is so inspiring that he feels himself fulfilled only when he has disseminated the knowledge he has acquired from his teacher far and wide. Therefore, his request or demand is not only that he should become highly efficient in learning the Vedas, but also that he must have the physical abilities for continuous exertion in carrying out open propaganda with all the missionary zeal to spread the vital truth and scatter the pearls of wisdom that form the very substance of his culture.
Yes. So, first is the praise, followed by the prayer for Shariram me vicharshanam jivva me madhumattama karunabhyam bhuri vishravam, etc. You see that. Practice chanting. Good. Questions? Comments?
This word is Vichashkanam, right?
Vicharshan. Able and active. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om Tat Sat.